Greetings and welcome to Firefly and the Willow Yoga. I'm Rebecca. In today's class, we'll be focusing on lengthening the hamstrings and stretching the outer hip and psoas as we move toward Hanumansasana or front splits pose. We'll also be practicing a different variation of pigeon pose today, often called mermaid. You'll need a couple of blocks and a strap for today's class. So take a moment, gather what you need, and I'll see you on the mat.
We're going to start today in Tadasana. So you can come to Tadasana at the top of your mat. And just a note about today's class, we will have lots of vinyasas in this class. So always feel free to skip the vinyasa if it's not working for you or for your body, or if you're feeling tired. You can always go straight to downward facing dog or even take a child's pose if you're feeling tired. So go ahead and come up to the top of your mat. Allow your toes to spread out nice and wide, feet about shoulder width distance apart. And then roll your shoulders onto your back. Bring your hands to heart center. Maybe allow your thumbs to rest on your sternum. And just begin with a couple of deep breaths. Allowing your shoulders to relax down your back. Collarbones just spread open wide. Allow your belly to be a little soft here. And feel how it fills with air as you inhale deeply. Take a moment just to feel the earth, the mat beneath your feet, grounding down, rooting down. Allowing your shoulder blades and your tailbone to drop down towards the ground. Or bend in the knees. Just allow yourself to settle into this moment and this space by just noticing the sounds that are around you right now. Maybe you can hear the background of birds here in my backyard. Or perhaps you just notice the sounds around you in your own space. Just allowing them to flow over. And now if you've had your eyes closed, you can allow them to flutter open. We'll allow the fingertips to come down next to the sides and then sweep the arms up overhead, maybe looking up towards the fingertips, reaching out. And then we'll exhale, slowly coming down, forward fold. Allow the knees to bend just as much as you need for them to allow the fingertips to come down to the floor. You can always use your blocks under your hands if you prefer. Inhale up halfway, allowing that spine to become nice and long, chest shining forward. And exhale, forward fold. We'll take a step back with the left leg. Exhaling as we shift forward into this left lunge. And then planting both hands, step the other foot back, coming to plank or high plank. Or rather plank or low plank. And then shifting forward on the toes. If you are on the toes, hugging the elbows into the sides, lower down slowly, hover at the bottom for just one moment. And then release all the way down to the floor. Tops of the feet come to the floor, pulling the elbows back. Inhale up. baby cobra. Pulling back against the hands. Exhale, release. Rolling up on the toes, pressing up here. Exhale, downward facing dog. Big deep breath. Inhale, left heel comes up from the mat. Exhale, bringing that leg through. Coming back into our left lunge. Dropping that back knee back of the top of the foot comes to the mat. Inhale up. Low lunge. Pulling back through that left hip, forward through the right. Exhale, fingertips come back down to the floor. Planting both hands, moving that left foot back to the back, and then coming through your chaturanga, hovering at the bottom, and then releasing to the floor. Inhale up, baby cobra. Exhale, release, rolling the toes under, pressing up to plank or half plank. Exhale, downward facing dog. Right heel floats up from the mat. Exhale, right knee comes to center. In between the hands, dropping the left knee to the mat, top of the foot comes to the mat also. Inhale up to crescent. And exhale, release. Coming back to plank or half plank, coming through your vinyasa. Pressing back up, plank or half plank. Exhale, downward facing dog. Right heel floats up from the mat. Exhale, right foot comes in between the hands. Inhale here, and then exhale, allowing the chest to shine forward. And then on your next inhale, step the back foot to the front. Inhale up halfway. And then exhale, release into your forward fold. Inhale all the way up to stand. Hands come to heart center. One nice long deep breath. And then inhaling, arms come up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, release, planting both hands on the mat, step back to plank. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left heel comes up. Exhale, left foot in between the hands, dropping the right knee. Inhale up. Exhale, release the hands back down to the mat, planting both hands, stepping that foot back. This time coming to knees, chest, and chin. And then coming into your cobra. So that's another option for chaturanga. Rolling the toes under, pressing up to plank or half plank, and then exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, right heel up. Exhale, right foot comes in between the hands, dropping the left knee to the mat. Inhale, arms up. And exhale, floating the fingertips down, planting the hands, stepping the right foot back. Again, coming to knees, chest, and chin. And then coming into cobra or baby cobra. Exhaling down, inhale back up through plank or half plank, and exhale, downward facing dog. And take a couple of breaths here, maybe bending the knees, allowing the spine to be nice and straight, and pedaling out through the feet. Bringing a little more length into the spine here. Imagining, if you will, that you could press the weight of your body back towards your heels here. And then bring that to stillness, bending the knees generously, take the gaze towards the hands, and you can walk or hop back up to the top of the mat. Exhale into your forward fold. And inhale all the way up to stand. Hands come to heart center. Inhaling here will allow the arms to come up overhead. And then exhale, coming into chair pose, shifting those hips back, taking the weight into the heels. Remembering that you can keep the arms out straight or even bring hands to heart center. So just finding what works for you here for what to do with your hands. If your hands are not at heart center already, on your next exhale, allow the hands to come down to heart center and then flow on down into forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, release into the fold. And then inhale all the way up. Hands come back to heart center. Flowing through this again with our chair pose. Inhale, arms come up overhead or out front. Exhale, shifting the hips back into chair pose. Hands come to heart center on the next exhale, flowing down, forward fold. Planting both hands, stepping the feet back, coming to plank or half plank. Pulling that belly button into the spine, really pressing away from the mat here. And then coming into chaturanga, hovering at the bottom. And then if you're ready, scooping up into up dog, remembering knees and thighs are lifted from the mat in up dog. Rolling the toes under, coming back to downward facing dog. We'll allow the right heel to float up from the mat. And exhale, right foot in between the hands, dropping the left knee. Inhale up. Really pulling back through that right hip, pressing forward through the left. And then exhale, fingers rain down. Bring that right foot back, coming for your vinyasa. And then allowing left heel to come up from the floor. Exhale, left knee comes through. Dropping the right knee. Top of the foot comes to the mat. Inhale up. Really pulling the thighs towards each other here as we pull back through that left hip and forward through the right. Exhale, hands come down to the mat. Rolling up on that toe and come through your vinyasa. Coming back to downward facing dog. Taking a couple of breaths here. Bending the knees if you need to. Shooting that tailbone up towards the ceiling of the sky. And bending the knees deeply, taking the gaze forward. You can hop or walk back to the top of the mat. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, release. Inhale up to chair this time. Breath here. And then inhale all the way up to stand. Hands come up overhead. Coming into a little baby back bend if you like. Just opening the chest up towards the sky. Inhale, hands come up, back up overhead. And exhale. A nice inhale here, really grounding down through all four corners of the feet. We'll inhale, arms up overhead. And exhale, shifting the hips back, coming into chair pose. Bringing the hands to heart center here. We'll begin to ground down through that right foot, really firming that right quad. And then allow that left foot to begin to become light on the mat. Lifting that left leg any amount. Keeping the hips squared here. And then we're going to begin to shift that left foot back. Coming into warrior three. There's some nice control here. And if you wobble or you need to come back, Just come back to your one-legged chair and then begin to shift again, keeping that supporting knee bent, pressing out through the heel of the left foot. Remembering, as I do, that we practice balance and learn balance by being off balance. So there's no problem with teeter-tottering, or find something to focus on. Maybe lift that left heel just a little more. And then slowly, with control, bring the left foot down to the mat. Whoop. And then I'll fall over too. And then from here, I'm going to come into a pyramid pose. So once your left foot has found the mat, allow it to come out to a little bit of an angle here. And if you have some blocks handy, you might bring those to either side of the right foot. Allow yourself to inhale, coming up to the fingertips, making that spine nice and straight. And then on your next exhale, maybe lower forward slightly, looking towards that right big toe. And just feeling this length in the back of the hamstring. Pressing the feet away on the mat. Remembering you can always adjust your blocks to different heights if you need more or less sensation. We'll inhale up halfway again. Exhale into this pyramid pose, and then bending that front knee, moving the blocks out of the way, planting both hands, stepping back, and coming into the Vinyasa. Taking your knees, chest, and chin, maybe choosing a cobra instead of an up dog, and coming back, downward facing dog. Deep breath here. And then bending the knees, taking the gaze forward. You can hop or walk to the top of the mat. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, release. Inhale all the way up to stand. Hands to heart center. Centering yourself here. And inhaling, arms come up overhead. Exhale, shifting the hips back into chair pose. So coming through this little sequence again on the other side, really grounding down through that left foot. We'll allow the right foot to begin to become light. Hands come to heart center, lifting that right foot from the floor. And then shifting the right foot out back, coming into our warrior 3 variation, balanced on the left leg. Find something to focus on. Come back to the breath. And then allow that right foot to find the mat, pressing out to the outer edge of the right foot. Right foot's at a little bit of an angle. Maybe bring in your blocks for your pyramid pose, dragging back through that left hip now. Gaze comes to the left big toe. Nice straight spine. And then maybe lowering forward any amount. Good, shifting those blocks out of the way now. We'll bend into that front left leg, planting both hands and stepping the left foot back, coming into your Vinyasa. Heading back to downward facing dog. And then if you like, maybe drop the knees here for a moment, come into a tabletop, or come into a child's pose, taking a moment of rest. Using your inhale to carry you back up to your downward facing dog. Taking the gaze forward, bending the knees deeply, and hop or step up to the top of your mat. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, release. And inhale all the way up to stand. Hands to heart center. On your way back to your Tadasana, Samastitihi, the top of your mat. And then from here, we'll inhale, arms up overhead. Again, sitting back into chair pose. We're going to come into an eagle pose here. So grounding down through that right foot again, will allow the hands to come to heart center and the left leg to lift from the mat, crossing the left foot or the left knee over the right. You can always choose to use a block for this pose or to allow your toes to rest on the mat. So if you're using that block, bringing it in under the toes here, or if you're able to wrap that right foot around the left calf, that's also an option. Inhaling, arms come open wide. We're going to take the left arm underneath the right, allowing the elbows to bend at 90 degrees and bringing the fingertips into the palm or the palms together. And then just allowing yourself to find a focal point here, taking a moment of balance. Allow the arms to unwind. And then we're shifting the left leg out behind, coming into a wide leg stance and shifting into triangle. So if you were using that block for your toes, it's now just in the right place for your triangle. Inhale, arms come up halfway, and then shifting the hips out to the side, reaching out, and exhale, coming down into your triangle pose. Gaze can be directly out forward or up towards the thumb. Couple of breaths here. Imagine yourself turning those lower ribs up towards the ceiling or the sky. And then you have a choice here to stay here in your triangle pose, or if you'd like to come and play with Ardha Chandrasana, you can drop that top hand to the hip, taking the gaze toward the big toe, and then shifting the block or maybe the hand out front and allowing yourself to come into half moon pose. We come out of half moon as we came in, coming back first to our triangle pose. And then as we rise up from triangle, this time we're actually going to bend into that front knee and come up to warrior two. So allow yourself to make any adjustments that you need to come into your warrior two, stacking the knee over the ankle, shoulders coming down the back. And then from here, we'll allow that back hand to windmill around. To frame the right foot, maybe shifting that block out of the way, coming through our Vinyasa. Meeting here in downward facing dog. If you need a little extra rest, maybe child's pose. Nice big deep breath. And then exhale, bending the knees deeply. Step or hop to the top of the mat. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, back into your fold. Inhale up. Hands come to heart center. And take a moment to reflect. Inhale, arms come up overhead. Exhale, shifting the hips back, coming into chair pose. Allowing ourselves to ground down through that left foot now. If you'd like to have your block handy for eagle, you can bring that in. Coming to chair pose. And then exhaling, hands come to heart center, pressing into that left foot, crossing the right knee over the left. Maybe bringing that right foot around behind the left calf, maybe touching your toes to the block. And then we'll inhale the arms open wide. Exhaling, right elbow comes under left. 90 degrees. Coming into our eagle pose. Find your drishti, your focal point. And then inhaling, arms unwind. And bring the hands to heart center if you like. We'll take that right foot back and set up for triangle pose. Inhale, arms come open wide, allowing that front leg to be straight, shifting the hips out towards the side, reaching out. And then exhale, coming into triangle on the side. Again, gaze can be straight out front or up towards the thumb, peeling those lower ribs up towards the sky. And then you can choose to stay right here in your triangle pose. Or if you like, you can take the gaze down towards the big toe, bringing the hand to the hip, and maybe taking that block with you, shifting yourself into Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose. And then slowly coming out with control, coming back first into triangle pose. And then we'll allow that front knee to bend. Inhaling up, warrior two. Taking the gaze over the front fingertips. And then turning the back hand up, windmilling the hands around, coming back to frame that left foot. Stepping the foot back and coming through your vinyasa. Taking the gaze forward, now we'll bend the knees. Step or hop up to the top of the mat. Inhale up halfway. And exhale, release into that fold. Inhale, arms come up overhead. Coming back to stand. Exhale, hands come to heart center. We'll take a wide step out on the mat now. Coming into a wide stance. Inhaling, rolling those shoulders onto the back and taking the hands to the hip crease. As we exhale, center of the chest shifts forward, coming into our wide leg forward fold here. And just allow your hands to fall wherever they may, or you can bring some blocks under your hands if you need to bring the floor closer to you. We're just going to begin to walk the fingertips over to one side now. So we'll walk the fingertips over towards the left side. Maybe that hand comes to rest on the outside of the leg here. And remember, you need to keep a nice little micro bend in the knees here. So not trying to lock the knees out, but keeping them soft, engaging the quadriceps, keeping the kneecaps lifted. And maybe you can even reach that left hand over to the outside of the, right hand to the outside of the left ankle, or maybe to the left toe, just allowing that right hand to rest somewhere comfortably. maybe physically or energetically moving the nose toward the left kneecap, lengthening out through the right side body, and then allowing that to release. We'll walk the fingertips back to center, taking a moment here to relax into this forward fold, allowing the top of the head to be down towards the floor, neck is relaxed. And then on our next exhale, allowing the fingertips to walk over toward the right this time, keeping that micro bend in the knee, finding the placement of that left hand, really lengthening out through the left side body. And this time we're going to stay over here on this side. We're going to turn the foot towards the top of the mat, taking the hands to either side of the foot and allowing that back knee to drop. Perhaps taking one hand and then the other over the bent knee, and then inhaling, arms come up overhead, pulling back through that front hip, forward through the back hip, and then dropping one hand to the top of the thigh or to the hip crease here, and inhaling up through the fingertips, exhaling over to the side, opening up through the side body and the psoas. Peeling that shoulder back just a little more, opening the chest. Inhale to come back up straight. And exhale, hands come back down to frame the foot, coming back up on the toe in the back, and then shifting back around, all 10 toes facing forward, coming back briefly through our wide leg forward fold. And then walking the fingertips over to the other side, turning that other foot forward, dropping the knee, stacking the knee over the ankle here. And then maybe one hand and the other, inhaling the arms up overhead. And then we're going to drop the hand to the top of the thigh or to the hip crease. Inhaling up through those opposite fingertips, pressing that hip forward. And exhale over to the side. Lengthening out that side body, lengthening out the psoas. And then inhale, hand comes back up overhead. Exhale, hands come to frame the foot. Back up on the toes. Shifting back through our wide leg stance. Continuing our trip back to the top of the mat. Turning that foot back. And now planting both hands on either side of that foot. We'll bring it back to the back and come through our vinyasa. Taking one breath here in downward facing dog. And then bending the knees. Upper step to the top of the mat. Inhale up halfway. And exhale into the fold. And here you might choose to bring a block in front of you, or you can just use your palm or your fingertips on the mat, whatever works for you. We're going to take one hand to the block, left hand to the block, and then inhale up through the right arm, allowing the left knee to bend and the right knee to straighten, but always remembering to keep that little micro bend on the right knee. Coming into a little forward fold twist here. And then exhale, allowing that hand to come down. Inhaling, other arm comes up overhead. Bending into the right knee. Exhale, releasing the left hand back down to the mat, shifting the block out of the way if you like, planting both hands, stepping the feet back, come through your vinyasa. And from our downward facing dog, we're going to allow the right heel to float up from the mat. Exhale, bringing the right foot to the outside of the hands here, dropping the knee to the mat in the back. And here you might allow that right foot to walk out just a little more to the edge of the mat. Right toes might even be spilling off the mat here. So coming into a proud lizard here. Remembering you can always move that knee out to the side to give yourself a little more space. And then from here on our next exhale, we'll be lowering down to the forearms. You can bring a block if you need to, or come down to your forearms on your mat, whatever is a part of your practice. Allowing those hips to sink down, stretching through the front of the leg and the hip flexor. Shoulders are relaxed away from the ears. And then we'll inhale back up. And here you might grab your second block. We're going to allow that leg to walk, that front foot to walk back in between the hands. And if you have your blocks, you can bring those to either side of this foot. We're going to drag the hips back, coming into half split here, pulling those toes back towards the face. Remembering you can keep your blocks at any level here. So if you need a little extra space, allow yourself to come up a little farther. And if you'd like a little more sensation here, pressing into your blocks, you can allow yourself to begin to shift into Hanumansasana or front splits pose. Finding your way there, allowing your chest to shine forward, not being too concerned about how close you're approaching this pose, but just your intention to show up and to practice. And then pressing back into your blocks, beginning to shift out of this pose. Maybe bringing the blocks back to the top of the mat, around the foot. We'll come up on the toe in the back, shifting the blocks out to the side for just a moment here. And then coming through your vinyasa. Or maybe you're coming straight to downward facing dog, doing what's right for you in these poses. Deep breath. And exhale in your downward facing dog. Now we'll repeat this on the other side. Inhaling that left heel up. Exhale, left leg comes to the outside of the hands here. Dropping the right knee to the mat, allowing that left foot to walk out to the side. Planting the hands here, allowing the chest to shine forward, proud lizard. And grabbing your block if you need to. And the block underneath the forearms. And coming into humble lizard, relaxed lizard, whatever you want to call it. Settling in here for a moment, allowing this pose to open the hips and stretch through the front of the thigh. Sinking the hips down, inviting the sensation. And then we'll inhale back up, bringing the left foot in between the hands, maybe bringing your blocks with you. And then coming from here into our half split, dragging that left hip back, bringing your blocks with you. Peeling the left toes up towards the face, chest is shining forward. And then if you like, you can begin to lengthen out here, pressing into your blocks, opening up into Hanumansasana or forward splits pose. And checking in with that back foot here, trying to press into the top of the big toe mound. And then when you're ready to move out, pressing into the blocks, allowing yourself to begin to shift. Coming back into your lunge with the left foot forward. And then taking the blocks out of the way. Planting both hands and stepping back to downward facing dog, or maybe coming into your vinyasa. Pressing back towards the heels here in your downward facing dog. A couple of deep breaths. And now from here, we're going to ground down into the left foot. Inhaling the right heel up from the mat. Exhale, right foot comes in between the hands, coming into a lunge. And then dropping that back foot. We're going to allow the right foot to walk over towards the left. And here, if you have a strap, you might keep that handy. So we're going to allow that right foot to begin to heel toe over towards the left side of the mat, dropping the right knee behind the right wrist as we come into a pigeon pose. So sitting up here nice and tall in your pigeon pose. And if you have a lot of space underneath your hip, as I often do, you might support that with a block, just to give yourself a little bit more balance here. So we're going to keep our pigeon up tall today. And as we move this into our mermaid pose or a different variation of our pigeon. So you can bring the hand to the thigh here, or if you like, you can bring a block underneath the hand. So this is my right leg forward and my right hand here on the mat. And then allow yourself to turn the toes under in the back and just walk that left knee back just a little more so that when you sit down the knee, you feel like you're pulling back against the top of the knee just a bit here. And then with your strap, I'm just going to allow that strap to be a loop here. My strap's all tangled. So untangling my strap. Allow that strap to be a loop here. And before we do anything with the strap, just begin to lift that left heel from the floor. So you're lifting that left heel any amount here. And then if you like, you can take the strap and loop it back around the foot, pressing firmly into that right hand, and then pulling against that left foot, feeling that nice deep stretch along the front of the thigh. And if you feel like you don't need that strap, you can always just reach back for the foot, lengthening out through the left arm, maybe. Always pad the knee with a blanket or with the edge of your mat. And then pulling that foot towards you any amount. And if you have a different expression of this pose in your practice, maybe you can bring that foot into the crook of the elbow. And then when you're ready, allow that to release. Bring that block out from underneath the hands if you used it, and out from underneath the hip. And then roll the toes under, stepping back into downward facing dog. Maybe taking a moment here just to pedal out the feet. And then we'll inhale back to plank. And exhale, coming back into your Vinyasa. Or exhaling directly back to downward facing dog, your choice. Let's big deep breath here. And then inhaling left heel up from the floor. Exhale, left foot comes in between the hands. Dropping the right knee to the mat this time. And then allowing that left foot to heel toe over towards the edge of the mat. The left knee dropping behind the left wrist. As we come into our proud pigeon. Maybe you need to support that left hip with a block. Chest is shining forward. Bringing the left hand to the left thigh, or bringing a block underneath the left hand. Making that loop with your strap. And then pressing into that left hand, we'll begin to raise the right heel up any amount here. And maybe this is where you stay right here. This is okay. And then if you like, you can take the loop of that strap around the foot, reaching back, maybe looking back over the shoulder towards that foot. Nice deep breaths here. Breathing into the hip, breathing into the hip flexor, the quadricep here on the right side as we stretch them. Maybe reaching back for the foot, pulling the foot towards you any amount. Sitting up nice and straight if you can. And then gently with control, allowing that foot to come back to the mat, allowing ourselves to unwind, shifting the blocks back out of the way. Coming up on the toe in the back, getting rid of your strap if you're tangled in it. And then coming back to downward facing dog or coming through your Vinyasa. Paddling out through the feet. And then we'll allow the knees to find the mat. We'll shift the feet out to the side as we come back to sit at the back of the mat. Stretching the legs out nice and long here. Sitting up tall in our Dandasana, pulling the toes back towards the face, spreading the collarbones wide. Nice deep breath here. And then pulling that left knee into the chest, hug the knee into the chest, and then allow the left knee to fall over to the side, left sole of the foot connecting with the right inner thigh. If you'd like to use your strap here, You can throw your strap around the outside, around the ball of the right foot. Shoulders come onto the back. And then as you exhale, lengthening out over the leg, allowing yourself to deepen into this pose, keeping the knees soft, no need to lock it back. Maybe making this pose dynamic, inhaling out, exhaling to deepen, inhaling to rise, exhale to deepen. And then we'll inhale all the way back up. I'm going to plant the right fingertips in the mat here as we inhale up through the left arm. And as we're exhaling, we're going to take that left hand and reach it to the outside of the right leg. Or maybe it's on the outside of the right calf here, or perhaps you can reach down and grab the outside of the left leg. And then allowing those other fingertips to come around behind. It's a combination of our Janu Shirshasana and a little bit of a twist here. Making sure that those toes don't drift into center here, but keeping that foot pressed into the hand and the hand pressed into the foot. Again, if you're up tall, this is fine too. We'll unwind here first by inhaling the head back to center and then allow the body to follow. Extending that left leg back out next to the right. Maybe you find a little wiggle in the legs here. And then we'll draw that right knee into the chest and allow the right sole of the foot to connect with the left thigh. Inhaling up tall, taking your strap around the ball of the foot. Shoulders come onto the back. And then exhale long over this left leg. Making it dynamic if you wish. And then inhaling all the way back up on your next inhale. Planting the left fingertips or the palm next to the left hip. Inhaling up through the right arm. Exhale, right hand comes to the outside of the left calf. Or maybe it travels down to the outside of the left foot. And then right arm comes around behind. Coming into a little twist here. And then allowing yourself to inhale back up. I'll take that right leg and extend it out long next to the left. Bringing the strap around the balls of both feet. Shoulders come onto the back. And exhale, long over both legs this time. Coming into Dandasana, forward fold. Keeping those toes pulling back towards the face, lengthening out long through the hamstrings and allowing your body to be long over your legs. Trying to lay the belly down on the thighs. And then on our next inhale, we'll rise up on our forward fold and shift ourselves down onto our backs on the mat. Knees come into chest, roll out through the lower back. And then allowing the soles of the feet to find the floor. Take the palms to the outside of the hips, palms down here. Walking the heels up as close to the body as you can. Moving from here into bridge pose, pressing into the palms. Your choice whether you inhale or exhale as you lift the hips, lifting the chin up towards the ceiling or the sky and the chest towards the chin, keeping those knees moving in towards each other. Exhale, releasing down one vertebra at a time. And then coming into this bridge pose again, lifting the hips on your inhale or exhale. And this time, maybe walking the shoulder blades up underneath the back. Perhaps you interlace the fingers, lifting the chin towards the sky. Holding it here for 3, 2, 1. And then gently releasing down, taking your time. Walking the back down one vertebra at a time. Knees come into the chest. One more time. Inhale, arms come open wide. Exhale, dropping the knees over to one side or coming into your favorite supine twist here. Inhale, knees come back to chest. Exhale, knees fall over to the other side. Inhale, knees back to chest. And we'll reach through those bent knees, grabbing the toes or the outsides of the feet. Coming into happy baby, maybe finding a little movement here. Lengthening the tailbone down towards the mat. And then we'll allow the soles of the feet to find each other. And using your hands, help yourself stretch out nice and long, finding your Shavasana. Snuggling the shoulders up under the back. And taking a little bit of rest here, integrating practice. And just allow yourself to try to drop out or stay out of the thinking mind here. Perhaps envisioning any thoughts as they come up as bubbles that are floating away or leaves floating down a stream. And if you get caught up in any of those bubbles or leaves as they float away, that's okay. Just gently guide yourself back to your breath, back to the sounds of your space, back to the feeling of your body resting here on the mat. Take a deep breath and begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Inhale your arms up overhead and stretch out long like the first stretch of the morning. And roll yourself to one side and rest there just for a moment. And then you can press yourself back up to a seated position, bringing your hands to heart center, or maybe allowing your hands to cover your heart, keeping your eyes closed or your gaze lowered. We'll close today with a quote from Lao Tzu, who says, "Be content with what you have. Rejoice in the way things are. When you realize there's nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you." Thank you for joining me for this practice today. And I hope your yoga follows you often now.